Okay, today we're talking about how do we make equivalent fractions. So we can make equivalent fractions using fraction bars like this. So let's say I'm given the fraction 2/3 and here's the fraction bar for 2/3. Well, I have a fraction bar down here and I want to create an equivalent fraction to 2/3, but I want to use sixths. So if I'm using sixths, then I'm going to create a fraction bar that is broken up into 6 fair shares or 6 equal parts. And really all I have to do is I have to shade in these parts until I become level or equal with the 2/3. So I'm just going to keep shading them in until I get to the end of the 2/3, and there it is. Now I just count how many sixths did I fill in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's my numerator. So I'm saying that 2/3 is equal to 4/6. But there is another way. So I'm going to show you that. Let's say I have the fraction 1/3, and I'm representing it this way with, we could call it a fraction bar. It's just a square or a rectangle shape that I've broken into thirds and shaded in one of them. Well, let's say I want to figure out an equivalent fraction for this. I could come in here and I could draw a line, and that changes this shape. Well, what it really does is now I've broken this shape into more pieces. I've broken it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So I could say that this is a denominator of 6. Then I count the number of pieces that are shaded in. In this case, it's 2. And so I could say the 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6. Well, I can keep using this to find other equivalent fractions. I could draw in another line here and here. Now, the main point here is that they are equal parts, okay? And so I could say now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So my new denominator is 12, and I count the number of pieces that are shaded in, and it's 4. And so I could say 1/3 is also equivalent to 4/12. And I could keep breaking up this shape into more and smaller pieces to find other fractions that 1/3 is equivalent to. Another example. Here I have 1/2, and I'm representing it visually here. And let's say I draw 2 lines here. Well, now instead of just having 2 pieces and one of them shade in, now I have 6 pieces and 3 of them are shaded in. So 1/2 is equal to 3/6. And I could keep breaking this up and find other equivalent fractions if I wanted to. All right, now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about what are line graphs. So we've talked about bar graphs and we've talked about pictographs. Now we're going to talk about line graphs. Line graphs are essentially a way to show a change over time. So here's an example of a line graph. We're talking about the temperature over time, or the temperature over a single day, starting at 6 a.m. and going to midnight. And we can see that I have this axis labeled as degrees in Fahrenheit, and I have my scale here. It goes up by 10 degrees each time. And then my axis down here is showing the time as it goes. So 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m., midnight. And I have a point at each one of these intersections for time. So at 6 a.m. I have a point, at noon I have a point, at 6 p.m. I have a point, and at midnight I have a point. Now all I do to make this into a line graph is I connect the dots. And then I can see the temperature rises up to 6 p.m. and then it falls back down by midnight.